Center, on behalf of JCA and its Board of Directors, thank you for being here tonight to celebrate our Ruth and her 16 plus years of service. This is really all about Ruth, and we're going to have just a few brief remarks, and then what we want you to do, each and every one of you, is try to get a few minutes with her to say how much you appreciate her and to share stories and things like that. But I did want to welcome you. I'm Heather Larkin. I'm the board chair of Just Communities of Arkansas. Or actually, I'm now the past board chair as of about an hour ago. I want to thank the Art Center and Lane Harbor, who is our current board chair of JCA, for hosting this wonderful party to celebrate the end of the year and certainly celebrate Ruth. So, first I'm going to ask Jay Barth, a former board chair of Just Communities of Arkansas, to come up and start us off. He'll introduce Ruth, and then after Ruth, we're going to have Charles Stewart, who is a former JCA board member also, and chaired our search committee to fill these shoes of Ruth Shepard, and he's going to introduce briefly our new executive director. So again, thank you for being here. Welcome, and Dr. Barth.
Well, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. I was a board member and chair during a period where this organization had 3 different names, and I think Sue Weinstein and I were the only 2 board members that kind of saw the transmogrification of NCCJ into JCA, into JCCA, into JCA. I was thinking today about what to say about this person, and obviously the innumerable folks who are here are the ultimate sign of our love for you as a community leader and as a person. But what I really come down to in terms of why Ruth has been such an apt leader for this organization is really in the concept of balance. And that organizations like this really need leaders who have this kind of graceful balance of attributes that are often not found together. First, I have seen in Ruth someone who is ready to make change when change needs to happen, and ready to be an agent for change within an organization. And I think back to when Ruth arrived at this organization, the immigration issue was barely happening as an issue in Arkansas. She embraced that and helped the organization embrace that. While LGBT issues were on the table, the trans piece was really not on the table at all. When it came to religion, the organization was very much focused on the traditional big religions that had been around this community for a good while, and of course Islam, and embracing Muslims into the vision of this organization, I think, is really important. But it's not just new issues, it's also new ways of doing things. Is that this organization, when Ruth arrived, was an organization, I think, very traditional in terms of the kind of tools it relied on and the kind of way in which it thought about doing its work. And she has been part of really envisioning a new way of doing things. So while embracing change, she also gets the constancy of the mission of this organization. This is about making every person, no matter who they are, valued in this community. That's been unchanging. And so this balance between change and continuity and constancy, I think, is an important part of who she is. It's also this balance between heart and head. And this is heart work. The work of this organization is all about the heart. It's about changing people's hearts. And I saw in the very first conversation I had with Ruth, we were on a board together over 20 years ago. And for some reason, we got stuck together for an icebreaker. And we broke ice for 30 minutes. And I saw the heart of this person. And I have continued to see that heart not only in who she is and how she interacts with other people, but how she does the work of this organization. But she's also about head and recognizing that organizations like this, especially small organizations that are always living in challenging circumstances and working in challenging circumstances, have to use their head, have to be really smart. And with Angela Duran, when I was on the board, we undertook a really long and I think very healthy strategic planning operation that did require some change, but also required us to use our head, and Ruth was really right there with that. And then third, the balancing of the seriousness of our work with a fairly wacky hilarity that is Ruth, and a joyfulness that is really in everything she does. I mean, she loves to laugh, she loves to make others laugh. She has a little edge, which some folks don't see, which is great. And this balancing of the seriousness of purpose with the sense that we have to have fun in this work and we have to have fun in life if we have lives that are worth living. And then the final area of balance is the fact that Ruth has been everywhere for this organization, done every task of this organization over the years, from fundraising to event coordination to all the other things that come with this work. And she is not only that, but she is a great coalition partner with all kinds of other groups. And I've seen a lot of folks from other organizations here. That's not accidental, because not everybody plays well with other organizations. Ruth does that well. And she is also at every event. I mean, Ruth is everywhere. But she has balanced her work with her family. And her family and the centrality of her family to who she is and how she goes about her work and why she does her work, I think, is really important. And so the balances I've talked about between heart and head, between joy and seriousness, between work and family, all of that stuff is what makes for a great organizational leader. And that leader that has that sense of balance helps make for a healthy organization that has made it through a lot of tough times, but is ready for the future at a time when we need this organization more than ever. And so I am glad to celebrate and welcome our friend Ruth Shepard.
Obviously, I want to say thank you to Jay. You can see why he's one of my go-to guys when I want someone to say something nice about me. Last night I kept waking up every hour or so trying to thinking about what I wanted to say tonight, and primarily I want to say thank you. I could go around the room, starting right here, and talk about probably almost every single one of you and what you've meant to me, how you've helped me, how you've lifted me up when I was down, how you've challenged me to be better, and how you've taught me some things that I didn't quite get, how you pointed out my blind spots, but always with love. And you are a remarkable group of people, and I am so fortunate to have each one of you in my life. Since we don't have time to say thank you to everyone, I am going to say thank you to just one particular person. Steve, where are you? It's back there. I'm not going to get through this without crying, I just know. I want to say a special thank you to Steve. He's my best friend, which most of you know, and he has unselfishly supported me every time, no matter what crazy thing I said I was going to do. He's right there with me. Thank you. So as a group, though, I want to recognize all of you, too. So I want you to listen to this list. And if you belong in this list, you just listen to the list, and then we're all going to have a little party here for a minute. If you are a former, present, or future JCA board member, if you are a former or present JCA staff member, if you are a former or present JCA volunteer, if you are you've been an annual dinner chair, and we're looking for next year's, by the way. a Walk for Community chair, a BILT honoree, an annual dinner honoree, and let's don't forget the donors. So if you belong in any of those lists, I want to see a big old wave. Look at this room. Okay, give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, give yourselves a round of applause. So, back to lesson. I would just follow a typical agenda that we do in our training. And that means we're going to do three things. We're going to do introductions that are not threatening, but a little insightful. And then we're going to talk about the meat, or whatever it is we're trying to get in that particular workshop. And then we have a closing story, okay? So we're going to do those three things. So, we're going to start with the introduction. My name is Ruth Shepard. And something about me that you probably don't know is that I love roller coasters. And in point of fact, when our son was in his early 20s, his Mother's Day present to me was to invite me to meet him at Cedar Point in amusement park in Sandusky, Ohio, which is the roller coaster capital of the world. And we rode 18 roller coasters that day, and I'm still sore from that. So, okay, now we're going to get to the meat of the whole thing. This is what we want to get tonight. As Jay said, JCA's mission has never been more relevant. This past year, we've seen the normalization of hate speech, and we've seen hateful acts. I mean, the statistics are appalling. And so, we still have a whole lot of work to do. I hope that you will join JCA and give our new executive director, Donald Wood, who you're going to meet in a minute, your best support you possibly can and commit to continue the work of Just Communities. You can participate in our programming and events. You can give us money. That's always a good thing. You can work to educate yourself. Read everything you can. Talk to people who don't think like you do. Talk to people who look different than you do. It makes a huge difference if you do that. One person can make a real difference, but working together, we can work miracles. And in fact, sometimes we do. So here I'm going to tell you the closing story. When I accepted this job in 2000, I thought, well, maybe I'll do this for 5 years. It sounds like fun. And it turned out to be so gratifying that I've been here 16 and a half years. Actually, 16 years and 7 months. And I will say not every day was great. But I always knew that we were making a difference. Because we've been creating communities where every person is valued, every voice is heard, and everyone has a chance to succeed. So several years ago, I attended a workshop regarding race and equity in education at one of our sister organizations, Just Communities of Central Coast in Santa Barbara, California. And one evening, there were about 12 of us who were sitting around in the dorm common room and just kind of, shooting the breeze and having a beer and that sort of thing. Actually, I was having Chardonnay, and the board will get that. But we were just kind of talking about everything. And one of the young women, in response to something somebody said, she said, "I'm a lesbian." And I think everybody in the room was surprised, because we've been talking about race a lot, but we hadn't talked about any of the other dimensions of diversity among this group. And so after she said that, another older woman asked her a question. And it was apparent immediately that the young woman was going to tell her personal coming out story. And so some of the group had already started to talk, and I said, wait a minute, this is important. Everybody needs to listen. And so everybody got quiet, and we listened to her story, and then there were lots more questions, and there were lots more answers. And then we kind of left that topic and we worked on world peace and some other things like that. And then people began to sort of peel off and go to bed. And at a certain point, there were about 4 of us left. And we realized, it's time to go to bed. And we stood up. And she came over to me, and she put her hands on my arms, and she said, "Thank you. No one's ever done that for me before." I have never felt more powerful in my entire life, because I realized that by that little tiny thing I did, I had given her her voice. JCA does that all the time, particularly with the youth and the children and the high school kids that we work with. We are giving them their voice, and it is so important that we do it. And we couldn't do it without the support of all of you. So it's so lovely that you're here tonight. I appreciate every one of you. We are making a difference. And like I said, I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Your stories are always hard to follow, come behind. My name is Charles Stewart, and I am a former member of the board of NCCJ, and maybe the next iteration of the organization, but certainly a long-term supporter of JCA and the work that they do, and a recipient of the National Humanitarian Award. And so I was deeply honored and really humbled by being asked to chair a committee to replace Ruth Shepard. My first thought was that you can't replace Ruth Shepard. And so I was asked to chair this committee of wonderful people that there was never a committee that needed a chair less than the group that I had the privilege of serving with. But when you have an iconic leader like a Ruth Shepard, someone who becomes the embodiment of social justice, her tenure at JCA cannot just be defined as a tenure, but it has to be defined as an era. We have just experienced the Ruth Shepard era of JCA. So the task that we were given was quite a challenge, and we went back to the board, I think, several times to get direction on where do you want us to take this? Do you want us to continue the steady course that Ruth has been on for some time that has worked well, or do you want us to take it to another level? And the board's challenge to us was to identify the leadership for the times that we are in and the times that we're likely to follow in the future. I'm a former or reformed duck hunter. And when I first started duck hunting, I never hit a duck. And so finally this old man told me, he said, well, you don't shoot where the duck is, you shoot where the duck is going. And so those were our instructions to chart a course and to identify leadership that will take us to where the organization is going and to where the challenges and the opportunities exist for this new day or the day in which we exist. And so we set about that task. And so we were very fortunate to get a whole cadre of very, very qualified applicants. And it became a very difficult job to weed down through those and to finally come up with one choice. And I can tell you that we arrived at this choice unanimously after having the opportunity to meet with this young man. So Donald Wood, who is our new executive director, brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to the table. He has experience in nonprofit organizational management, experience in financial management and budgeting and in development and fundraising. His interpersonal skills and communication skills are well developed. And we believe that he has a keen understanding and commitment to show social justice and to bring people to the table who have often been missing from the important dialogue and education necessary to bring understanding and cooperation among people of all races, genders, creeds, colors, and orientations. A person who is mature enough to relate to seasoned individuals, but also young enough to relate to the millennials and those who will define our future. We see Donald Wood as the right person for the right time. And we know, as we've, I think Ruth alluded to, we see that we still have a lot of work to do. I remember a few years ago, one of the NCCJ supporters, when we went to him for some support, funding, and he told us with such honesty, haven't we solved all of those problems? And I think that we see today that no, those problems have not been solved. We have a lot of work to do. And we think that we've selected a young man who will take us into this new era, and that we will see amazing things from this young man and from JCA as long as we continue to support, continue to work with, and continue to give this organization the support that it requires and the support that this community in these times are calling for. So would you please join me in welcoming our new director for JCA, who will create a new era, I predict, for this great organization, Donald Wood. Donald?
Well, I'm going to keep this short because this is Ruth's night. You know, we're here to celebrate Ruth, and the scope of all this, you know, the enormity of it is almost overwhelming. I can tell you that, and it's not just because of this organization and the impact it's had, the potential it has, but it is following such an iconic figure. The scope of my gratitude to Ruth for what she's built, for what all of you have built, is unexplainable. So all I can say in closing, again, we're here to celebrate Ruth, so I'll be short, is a quote from Mark Twain. And Mr. Twain once said, "The two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why." And I'm here to serve JCA and serve this community, and that's exactly why I'm here. So thank you all for coming out and let's celebrate.